moments near. Your voice is loud, it's crystal clear. Kiwi dreams and hopes collide. Choose the ones who stand with pride. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine. The future's written in your hand. The chance to guide and take a stand. Community rising, hearts aligned. And together we shape this land divine. It's in the ballot we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine. Ocean in your hand, a chance to guide and take a stand. Community rising, hearts aligned. In this moment, powers redefined. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine.
Okay, good afternoon everybody and welcome to It's in the Ballot here. These candidates are vying to become the next members of the, how do we say the community board? Because I know it's the Foxton community board, it's the Te Awahou Foxton community board. But with every election there's one thing stepping in the way and that's your vote. And coming here live from Foxton, we're here for It's in the Ballot, our community board edition. So we've got three candidates who have decided to put their feet to the It's in the Ballot fire. We've got two here in studio, one coming in remotely. And let's kick off with 1 minute opening statements. Susan, are you comfortable to go first?
Oh, no worries. You just want me to introduce myself?
Yes, please. Yep.
I am Susan. I'm Susan Gallia. I've been active around Foxton before I came to Australia for a short while, and I'm coming back to Foxton now. I have had a long, I've done a lot of things in my life, and I've got a lot of experience in leadership and doing things like building houses. So I think I can contribute a lot to the Foxton community. I have relatives and friends in Foxton, and I'm involved in Foxton anyway. So I would like to contribute and spend time representing people in Foxton and Foxton Beach.
Thank you for that. Let's now kick off with Irene on why you should get one of the very many ticks the Foxton voters get.
All right. Well, tēnā koutou. My name is Irene Wakefield, and I'm really proud to stand for the Te Awahou Foxton Community Board. I bring a very fresh lens to this table. I am the youngest candidate standing. I am one of few wahine, and I am proudly Māori. I'm here to give voice to the Foxton River Loop, and I'm also here to ensure that local decisions that are made consider Foxton and consider investing here as well. And when I say that, I think really practically, I'm thinking of things like footpaths for our tamariki to get safely to school and safer ways for our people to be able to cross this main highway. So I'm really good at bringing clarity to complexity and being a bridge between community, council and iwi hapu. I think it's really important that we don't just think about ticking boxes, but consider how we're going to get there as well. So I'm home and I'm ready to be a voice for Foxton and to give back to the community that raised me. Kia ora.
Okay, and Brett.
Kia ora. My name is Brett Russell and I live at Foxton Beach in the Kirikiri ward. I was elected to the Te Awahou Foxton Community Board in 2022 and I'm standing for both the board and the Horowhenua District Council in our local body elections. Why do I believe I'm right for the role? Being an elected member requires empathy, strong advocacy, district experience on our community and the ability to weigh complex decisions. Through my local district experience on our community board as chair of the Manawatu Estuary Management Team, and since 2023, together with my extensive business background running two successful IT companies, gives me the breadth of skills and experience for these sorts of tasks. What do I see as the biggest challenge? I will come on to that later in this program. Thank you. Ngā mihi. Vote for me.
Okay, so here's how things works with the community board show. The goal of community boards is to work as a team. Now, just for a bit of a change that's happened from last week, we've dropped the box questions down from 10 boxes to 10 to 9 because the 10th question was garbage. And to be honest, 9's just as effective. So we've got a box here. We've got a bunch of questions that are sitting in the boxes, but we've got letters between A to I. As a team, what should be the first question we should ask? What letter?
I.
I?
Yeah.
So I for India.
Or Irene.
Irene. Oh, yeah, even better. Yeah, I for Irene. Yeah. How can the community board contribute to civil defence and emergency management in our area? And let's go for Irene.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm aware of is that we don't currently have a Foxton specific emergency plan, so I think that needs to be a high priority. I think it's important to say I'm a really big advocate for saving our Memorial Hall, and I see this as a great opportunity to set up a beautiful space for civil defence for our whānau to go in the event of emergency. What I'd really like to do personally is work with those that look after this kaupapa to add a little bit more depth to our emergency responses, and I think about some of the work that's happened over in communities like Putiki, where they've actually taken the time to set up simulations and look at how do we receive whānau that have been displaced from their homes, and not only think about the physical supports needed, but also the very real mental and emotional supports that will be required when their home is not a safe place to go. So I think depth and thoughtfulness are really important aspects that I care about.
Okay, let's go to Susan. Thanks for that, Nick.
Hi. I must say I'm very excited to hopefully be working with Irene on this board, because she has got some very good ideas, most of which I can agree with. I especially like what she said about the highway being dangerous. We do have emergency, the fire brigade already, but hopefully the community board can do some more stuff in terms of emergency. I mean, Foxton's been put in a pretty bad position with the highway going through it and more traffic coming up from Wellington. And the emergency service is finding it hard to get across the bridge with those barriers. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing something with you about that.
Okay. Brett.
I think that the community board can, along with council, play a pivotal role in coordinating the emergency services, police, fire, ambulance in times of civil stress. I'm thinking too of the learnings from the Cyclone Gabriel that affected the eastern part of the North Island recently, and I'm pleased and proud of the decisions made by the Te Awahou Foxton Community Board to spend money updating the kitchens in the Paranui marae, and I think there's also work being done in the and one or two other local maraes, because they, together with the Foxton Marae Hall, can provide the essential shelter and the resources to feed and sustain our community. I think we need to sharpen up our communication processes. The recent notice of a potential wave destruction from Russia, earthquake needs to be looked into in terms of fixing how news is communicated. Work to be done. Ngā mihi.
Okay, Susan, what's the next question card you'd like to pick? A to H.
C.
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 Yeah, let's go for C for Charlie. How will you stand for the community at the council table on issues where the council is not in support of them? And you get to kick off first with that question.
Well, as I see it, the community board meets separately, and they only have one person from council who attends their meetings. So this puts them in a very difficult position to actually do anything at the council table as such. So what we have to do is be vocal in our local area, get opinions from people, and I'm thinking of doing like a community questionnaire, or having a suggestion box, and then pushing those issues in the media and with the council. I'm not sure that having meetings just of the board is going to do much with the council. I don't think that Foxton has enough say in what Horowhenua Council actually does. That's my feeling anyway. I'm not 100% sure on that, and I hope I'll learn, but that's what I think.
Not a problem there. Brett.
In terms of communication, I think it's a great option to use the Antenno application on your smartphone to communicate with council, because council will react, or say they will react quite promptly to any issues that are affecting our community. I think that in terms of issues that we don't agree with, or how we communicate those, I think it's important to use evidence-based information and be as compelling as you can be, because I think logic and smart thinking are part of the governance aspects that members of the community board and council need to embrace, and also have some trust and faith in the operational side of things with council. The staff there, they know what they're doing, and they're richly experienced in meeting day-to-day requirements. But in terms of other outside of usual events, then communication is key. Ngā mihi.
And Irene.
Look, I think I'm really aware that the board is absolutely an advisory role, but I don't see that as us being powerless at all. I think of examples like the berms here in Foxton, or the Memorial Hall clearly being considered a taonga for our community. These are the times where it is important for our community board to put voice to issues that perhaps our council might not agree with. I don't have any issue with standing up and voicing the concerns of the community, especially if we can see an abundance of change required. And coming back again to the berms, this is a great example of a time where I would want to see our community board step in. I think I'm a really effective communicator, and I know how to get a message across really clearly and really deliberately as well. And I think those are the sorts of skills that our community who will be casting the vote should consider when they're deciding who will represent them on this board.
Okay, Brett, what question should we pick?
I think we should go for B for Brett.
B for Brett. I like that. Okay.
Make it a good one, please.
Sorry, just a moment. I feel like I've kind of answered.
I think I'm in
question.
the lottery or something.
Oh, okay. No, it's not. No, it's not the same one. It's similar but not. How would you stand up for community interests if it differs from your own opinion?
Well, I think I would like to look at community interests in an objective fashion, and a good example might be the berm situation. In many actual localities in London, south of England, and all the cities I went to recently in Eastern Europe, they don't actually mow the berms because they just like to let the plants grow for some reason. So I think it's become a very good local issue, and in our community would like to see our council do more to look after the berms, but that's an issue that comes to mind, and I think there has been a decision to invest in some mowing, and I think that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, we've got finite resources. We need to be careful how we manage those resources. And I like the trend I see from overseas, because a bit of beautification is no bad thing, a bit of greenery. That's my answer.
Irene.
I think there's two things I'll say in response to that question. So the first is that I'm number 7 of 8 children, and I was the first girl. So I really grew up in an environment that forced me to learn how to find consensus and find comfort and discomfort as well when the decisions didn't always sway in my direction. I think the other thing that I bring to the table is that my lived experience just by being Wahine Māori means that I'm often in circumstances where decisions that are made around me don't necessarily reflect my value set. And I think about things like our and tables that I might sit at where we really have to consider how to ensure a community will have effective wastewater treatments, while in the other hand holding the grief of considering that my awa may very well be that wastewater system. These are the sorts of things that I, in my day-to-day life and work, have to sit with, and it is very uncomfortable, but it's something that I'm well versed in as well. So I share that with you to see how I might sit where we may not align.
And Susan.
Well, I think that in terms of my opinions, they're pretty irrelevant when I'm trying to represent other people. So I have to take on board other people's opinions, which I'm perfectly capable of doing. And I would just have to accept that I'm not the majority. I'm only one voice. Most of my opinions are probably quite different from other people's anyway. And I've always had to listen to other people's opinions and try and represent them. So that's part of who I am. And I'm old enough now to know that most people are not going to see things my way, because I've come from a long time ago and I know things that were very different and they're changed now. So you have to move on and you have to accept that other people have different opinions. So I'm perfectly open to listening and trying to advocate for other opinions.
Now, I just want to ask, we go a bit off topic here. What do you think about turning berms into, say, vegetable gardens or plant fruit trees on there? What's just a general opinion on that?
I actually think that we've got an abundance of community gardens that already exist in Foxton, and we don't necessarily have the effective systems to keep them operating really strongly. I think fruit trees could be a great opportunity, and I'm aware that we have people locally who are already in their own backyards growing kai to share with our community. I think what would be more effective is actually to take the time to look at the multiple people and groups that are doing things to support kai resilience and find a better way to systemize that in service of our community. I think of people like Linda Lake, who has worked tirelessly for years in Te Awahou Kai. Why is it that she has to post every 2 weeks asking us for paper bags to help her package up kai for local whānau? Why is this not baked into our normal everyday rhythms? Why do we not have a place like here in the Te Awahou Nieuwe Stroom where we drop those off knowing that that's going to go to whānau who need to receive a kai package? I actually think we need to focus our attention there.
Yeah. You want to mention something, Brett or Susan?
Just that, sorry, go ahead, Susan.
Sorry. I think it's a bit impractical to try and change berms into vegetable gardens. I mean, that sounds terribly impractical. I had the idea years ago in Palmerston of putting trees like olive trees, and you have to choose trees that don't need a lot of attention and that don't drop leaves all over the place, because that's not really going to help. But I think trees, so long as they're not in the way of what people are using the berms for at the moment, that is possible. But vegetables is probably pretty impractical. And who's going to look after them? Who's going to make sure they're not, going onto the roads and like pumpkins traveling across? It's not really going to work.
I'm just envisioning someone actually weeding the garden while on the middle of the road on, say, State Highway 1. So you've just given me a vision that it just like, that does sound a very bit impractical for that particular location. Funny enough, it's actually my great auntie Gwen, who's actually the one I envisioned on doing that, because she's an avid gardener at 96. Yeah. Brett?
I'm a great fan of that English celebrity chef and television personality, Hugh Christopher Firmly Whittingstall, and he's got some interesting ideas on recycling, and I think we should be mindful that there are plenty in our community, plenty of people in our community who, for whatever reason, are finding cost of living difficult, and I think we should be recycling unused food, and also perhaps considering how we can make best use of land such as berms to maybe plant the fruit trees, anything that's easy to grow, that looks okay and would help provide nutrition. I think it's not a bad idea and worth perhaps progressing.
Okay, let's get back to the box questions. Irene, what letter?
Can't remember what we've done. What about D?
We haven't done D. Oh, I better take B out of the mix, actually. So D. So D for dinosaur, and I'll change my window here so I can actually read what's on it. How willing are you to work with local hapu and iwi at a community board level?
Well, I whakapapa te Ngāti Tūranga and Paranui Marae, so I am actually a direct line to ngā hapu o Himatangi. Whenever we step into roles like this, and if we are elected, a part of what we agree to do is to align with Te Tiriti, and that means working with mana whenua. And so when I think about the lineup of candidates that are stepping forward for the community board, I consider myself and my whanaunga Hayden Turoa as two really advantageous candidates to consider, because we have the relationships and we have the ability to work well between council, community and iwi hapu in a way that can move things forward. I don't know that any of our other candidates have that direct line and relational connection with iwi hapu, so I highlight that as something to consider when you're thinking about who it is that you would like to represent your voice at the Te Awahou Foxton Community Board.
Okay, Susan.
Willing to work with the local people, and that includes the iwi and hapu, and so I'd be very happy to be on a board with Irene. I mean, that would be the best way to do that. But I do have contacts with other people in the area, so I'm not totally out of the mix. But yeah, that's the way I would see it. Just working with the people on the board and the local people in general, everybody, I mean, there's various different nationalities in Foxton, living in Foxton, and I guess we have to work with everybody.
Okay, Brett.
Well, I'm proud and privileged to have a family connection with our local iwi in Hapu. My late cousin Mahinarangi Taka was connected to the marae on the road from Foxton to Shannon. And I enjoy very much the intellect and culture and rigour that our local iwi can bring. We're blessed in our community by having outstanding people, including Irene and Hayden and Justin, just to name but three. And I think that we need to work together and also there's one other person, I think Takenahi Teara is also a fine fellow too. So we're blessed by the quality of our iwi without question, and they have made brilliant contributions to our way of life and culture, and I look forward to continuing our journey with them and making our community even better because of the richness of their contribution.
Kia ora.
Okay, Susan, what card number should we pick? We've got A, E, F, G, or H.
F.
F. So F for Foxtrot. Okay. Back on the factor of community gardens. What factors currently support community gardens in your area, and what actions could be taken to improve or create new ones?
Well, Irene mentioned that there are plenty of community gardens in Foxton at the moment. I am yet to find where there is one, but anyway, I would be very interested in doing a project with a community gardens and advising and helping. We were organic farmers in the near Rongatia, so I've got a lot of knowledge about gardening and how to go about it, and I'm happy to know that there are some. And I'm also intending on growing produce that I can share. So any council land that can be appropriated for a group to grow things for the community is a great thing to do, and I was going to try and do that before, but there's not a lot of council land to have, really.
Okay. Brett.
Yes, well, my wife, Sue Ann, she works for the budget services here in Foxton, and her colleague there, John Gerling, who's also outgoing chair of the community board, has set up a good working community garden, and I'm conscious that works well to help people who are finding it difficult to make ends meet in these straitened times. And I think that that garden can provide a role model, and maybe there's a need. I'm not sure what the need is for greater community gardens, but anything to help ensure that people, no matter how difficult the circumstances, they're getting the nourishment and the food that they need, good quality food. And I am 100% supportive of community gardens, and will look to make sure that we can expand those as and when the need arises.
Okay. Irene.
Look, I do think there is a place for community gardens, but in my experience with the three that I'm aware of, there are seasons where they are just left to go wild, and it just takes another member of community to recognise that and put in great efforts for a period of time, and it kind of goes up and down. So I think there's a merit in them, but we need to, as I said earlier, have the right systems to underpin that and actually support constant reproduction of kai that can be shared out to our people. I would rather focus on what exists here in Te Awahou beyond community gardens. I think of Te Awahou Kai, I think of Te Whare Kai, I think of Legacy that host evenings on Monday nights offering a community dinner and fellowship for free. I think of people like Donald Weller, who's literally growing produce in his backyard and gifts that to Linda Lake so that the people who use Te Awahou Kai resources can have fresh, healthy vegetables on their plate. I would rather that we poured our attention there and found ways that can support beyond vegetables in meaningful ways for our community.
Okay. Brett, what question card should we pick out of A, E, G, or H?
H, please.
H. So we've got H for hotel. Okay. How accessible is the current community board, and what steps would you take to improve its accessibility if needed?
I think that the community board is pretty accessible because there are business cards available from all council offices, both the council in Levin and also this building that we're in, the TANS building. And I think also too that before we have meetings, the public are invited to come along before and half an hour before the meeting begins to let us know any concerns. They can write in, communicate. They can use the app that council provides to alert us to issues. And by and large, our community is pretty good at communicating issues of concern, berms or the review of the Foxton Beach Endowment Fund concerns, those sorts of things that we've been looking at recently. Well, certainly the fund, not so much berms, but yeah, there are avenues open. And in terms of improvement, I think it's the problem is a lot of apathy in our community, but we're doing well to cope with the issues at hand. Thank you.
Irene.
So when I think about accessibility, I think, do you see me out there in the community? Am I available for you to approach and ask questions, or do you have to hunt me down? I think I've probably been pretty lucky to build relationships with our existing community board, but that's because I've been quite active in putting myself out there and volunteering in community. And I know that that's not necessarily the norm for everybody here. So what I would say for me is that I already show up in so many different spaces. I shop locally, I eat locally, I'm a frequent visitor to our local cafes, I'm often in the parks by the river. I think there are lots of genuine places in everyday life where people will be able to connect with me, and I am a very approachable person as well. In addition to that, there's the obvious channels to be able to connect with me via email or social media or through different various events that exist around the community board. I think there are a lot of people around here that already know me and know that about me as well, and so if anything, take from this that I welcome your kōrero and your questions.
Susan.
Well, that's number one. All that we can do is be more accessible ourselves and be more genuine and be out there, which is something I will do because I'm like Irene, I shop locally. I'd be going to all the local cafes and supporting them and so on and so on. But the one thing I could maybe suggest, and maybe you've already got it, but we could have either a Facebook page or an email address that people could write to, and then a lot of people are more online these days, so that's probably the best way to be more accessible. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just wondering, where do the meetings take place? Do they take place in this room or elsewhere? Right where we're happening?
Yes.
So live streaming it's not there.
Yes.
No, it's a good idea.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, like, the gear's there, literally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, that is so fitting. Like, when I booked the venue, I didn't realise this was going to be the room that the community board meeting was in. You know, this is what happens when you're doing things from Wellington. So Irene, we've got G, E, or A.
Let's go for G.
So it's G for golf. And I don't. Do you think Donald Trump will turn up to the local golf course? What role would you entail in overseeing the planning, regulation, and implementation of traffic, parking, signages, and related policy changes, including community consultation?
It feels a little bit disconnected from the community board, this question.
Sorry? Are you saying exit, producer?
Sorry.
I did adjust the question from when you told me
Yes.
it was last time.
Hi. We have did try to amend this, and I would like to thank ChatGPT for
Not making it better.
making it worse.
Yeah.
So
Shall we
there's
judge it?
AI in its finest.
Okay.
Is that not the question?
Well, that's what the question is, but as you're saying, is it possibly outside the scope of community boards?
I definitely think there's ways.
No, I didn't say. Sorry. I think it's quite well within the scope of community boards, because we've got the state highway, Russell Street, going through past the coffee shop the Robert Harris coffee shop, and there's a pedestrian crossing. And I think that with the OTNL coming through, we need to be mindful that children, especially at school time, crossing from one, or any other people crossing over from one side to the other, it's going to be tricky. And I think that I'm not sure what solutions are available, but I think we need to do some work to discover, analyze, and then maybe configure some sort of solution that's going to work so that traffic can flow and people can be protected, better protected than just having the existing pedestrian crossing there. And even though the speed's reduced from 100k down to 50k, there are people in our community who can be quite reckless, and I think it behoves us to be prudent and look at what safeguard options are available. Thank you.
Do you think you've got a better way that can answer that, or is it just...
It's a massive question that you're asking, and so I'm probably trying to be quite thoughtful about how I address it, because it's not specific to, you know, a transgender. So look, I think at the end of the day, my role is to ensure that the voice of Foxton is included in decision making, whether that's relating to traffic or signage or whatever it might be. And I can think of countless examples already where I've been able to be a voice for those things. I think about Foxton Futures, and the number one priority that came out of that was the river loop. I have literally hand planted hundreds of native trees along that river loop because I see the link there, but also because I see that our awa is a taonga. In terms of highways, I've spoken about the importance of safe abilities for our kaumātua, our tamariki, to get to school or get to where it is that they need to go. And the last thing I'll just touch on is signage. You only need to look outside today. We've got fresh signs that have been set up letting people know where our wharepaku are here in the community, because I know that is something not all our visitors recognise as available at the loop.
And Susan, would you like to add?
Is that I think we've got a big problem coming ahead, and I think it's already there anyway. The amount of traffic and lorries, and it's just awful, actually. I mean, it's all very well to have a bypass for Levin, but Foxton really needs one. Anyway, my role is just, I would have thought, just to be a thorn in the side of local government and probably, you know, national government, because really it's a problem that's going to get worse for Foxton. That's all I can say.
Okay, Susan, we've got A and E left. Which one would you like to choose?
Yeah, I'll have A, seeing as I've been doing street names myself.
Okay. What's your preference for new street names to be based on in the Te Awahou Foxton Community Board area? Examples such as former mayor names, names gifted from local iwi.
Well, the situation at the moment is that the developer who puts in a new street, which I've done in Foxton and in Palmerston North, that developer gets the right to put forward a name for the street. So what can be done by the community board is probably to get a list together of preferred names that they would like, and then we can present that to the council as opposing whatever the developer puts forward. The only other way is to get hold of the developer and talk to them, bring them maybe to a community board meeting and talk to them about what names are available in the area that reflect the area and the people in the area. So I think having a list of preferred names is probably the only thing the community board can do.
Brett.
Well, I'm not sure what the council's current policy is with regarding street names. I do know it was a wee bit confusing for me because the title of our property said that we lived in Andrew Street, and then a lot of other Google Maps, for example, said it was Andrews Street with an S on the end, and we've had some quite a bit of confusion, and it is officially, I understand through inquiries, as Andrew Street. And in terms of names, I think it's quite good to get community input on that sort of thing. I think it's quite good to celebrate events, famous people, iwi, hapu, and other sources of names. And I just think that we need to be open-minded about that. And I would like to become more familiar with how our names are chosen. But I think a lot of people who have come from families, Pedersen and other people, are recognised by our street names, and that's a good thing and should continue. I mean,
And you've actually just reminded me something. There's a street in Wellington called Shortland Street, and someone managed to get it removed from Google.
Okay.
So I've like talking about street names with the wrong spelling on Google and all that. That's something that did happen in Wellington. They got rid of Shortland Street on Google, and it was annoying because it sent all the GPSs down to the other end of the to access it off having to walk up a steep, climb up a bank. Irene.
Look, I think where appropriate, I would love to see iwi as part of decision making around naming streets. I don't think that necessarily applies to every street that exists within our community, though. I don't actually believe that you need to be somebody with a title like mayor to be worthy of having a street named after you. I could think of countless people in this community, many of which who are not with us anymore, who have absolutely left an imprint on Foxton that probably should be honoured in such a way as having a street named after them, or perhaps something else. People who come to mind are people like Whaepiki or Reverend Cecile Colleen Henderson. I think of people like Delson Haladoni, who worked tirelessly to restore our river loop. These are people who may no longer be with us anymore, but certainly their work lives on in our community, and what a beautiful way to honour that where appropriate to consider names like that. I would like to see our community be able to submit names and perhaps then have discussions around how and who.
You've just mentioned about one part of Aotea in Poirua. A lot of the street names are based on cultural significance or political significance in the area. The most famous one that most people know is about Whitford Brown Ave being the road up to Waitangaroa, but they do also have a couple of street names such as the next mayor, John Burke. There's Whitford's wife, Frances, got a street named after her. Margaret Shield did. So, you know, that's something that many significant people in the community in Aotea, that Aotea ended up naming all these double named streets. Yeah. And the most recent example, that's the big one, would be in Carterton. They named a street. It was originally going to be called Byre Way. I think it was Byre Way, and then they renamed it Georgina Byre Way to acknowledge her, and it was just after her death. So they just changed. So they Ron Mark rushed through a name change that put Georgina on the front of it. Yeah. Now, Brett, you've got a choice of E.
let it be E.
Let it be E. What community projects would you be happy to support for community board council grants?
Any activity that I think it deserves council grants, things maybe to do with the environment. I think that we need to be mindful of climate change and other factors. Other groups that I'm just thinking, we've got lots of clubs and in our community, from Lions, Rotary, bowling clubs, and they're pretty independent. They stand on their own. The bowling club overcame a big fire on their own. So, but I think that we have a boating club, maybe sporting events associated with our loop and our river, kapahaka groups, maybe music groups, educational groups that want to learn how to become more entrepreneurial, more liaisons between schools and children, and that kind of thing might be useful to consider improving, because teachers are having a tough time at the moment. Thank you.
Irene.
I think there are a few areas in community that spring to mind immediately. So one being our river loop. I think about our culture and our heritage here in Foxton. I think about our rangatahi and our art spaces. And I also consider the areas I know where our larger pockets of our community gather, like our Foxton Rugby Club. I'd be really thinking about how to set them up for success and ensuring that they have what they need to thrive and do well. But what I will say is, whenever I'm thinking about this, and I've sat on funding panels before, is I think we need to think with legacy in mind where appropriate. So is this thing that we're looking to invest money into going to stand the test of time in 20, 30, 40, 50 years time when my mukapuna are here? And I think whenever we're making decisions that consider that far into future and we can see benefit for that, then we're really on the right track.
Susan.
Well, I think sports events and events, but also things like the Memorial Hall that you've mentioned already, Irene. I think some of the earthquake proofing that has been required should have had some extra help from for the community, because they're community spaces that are useful and they will stand the test of time, like Irene says. I mean, you can go and have a film once a month. You can go and see the film. That's a very worthwhile project. I think should be looked after. So yeah, sports and arts and community spaces are the things that are important.
Okay, thank you for that, and thank you for the questions on form and off form. So let's get ready for closing statements. Let's go with you, Irene.
I think I'll keep this short and sweet for me. I'm really confident in what it is that I've had to share this evening about who I am and what it is that I stand for. My name's Irene Wakefield. I'm the youngest candidate standing. I'm one of few women and I'm proudly Māori. I think I'm a very effective communicator, and that's something that will give strength to me being able to participate in the Foxton Community Board. And I'll highlight again myself being a direct link to ngā hapua himatangi, a key factor in how we work together as a board. I have great relationships and have worked with most of the people that are running, and so I look forward to being able to see where the community lands. I hope that you will support me and welcome the idea of having new and fresh energy sitting at this table. Kia ora.
Okay, Susan.
With the community board, and especially the two people who've turned up today, which is great. Yeah, I have a lot of things I can add. I'm an older person, I admit, an older lady, but I have grandchildren and I understand the problems around young families and poor people and housing in Foxton. I'm very well aware of the problems that people have finding somewhere to live even, and that really affects me. So I'm hoping that I can work with the board and that I will be elected.
Okay, Brett.
I'm going to make my comments short and sweet too. Essential government reforms reshape the way we manage water, land, and even local governance itself. Board members will need to balance financial prudence with community aspiration. I can certainly do this. Please vote for me. Ngā mihi.
Now, call me a little bit ignorant here because I didn't do any research. How many positions are available on the Foxton Community Board?
Five.
Okay. Quick, short, sweet and easy. When it comes to voting, you have 5 ticks. Pick the 5 candidates you think best going to represent you. Okay. I think it's time to hit the closing credits.